Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Daily Update channel. Genoa City is honestly a powder keg right now, and I have to ask, did any of us actually see this coming? I mean, we knew Patty Williams was back in town, and we knew Matt Clark was lurking in the shadows, but seeing them join forces is something else entirely. It makes you wonder if this was really just a lucky break for Matt or if we're watching the start of the most twisted partnership this show has ever seen. Well, think about it for a second. We've got Phyllis Summers playing this incredibly dangerous game of keep away with a man who has literally terrorized half the town for decades. She had him tied up and gagged in a hotel room like some kind of prize she could trade for her own freedom. But the funny thing is, Phyllis always thinks she's the smartest person in the room, and she completely forgot about the one wild card she couldn't control, Patty Williams. It's just wild to me that Phyllis thought she could hold Matt Clark as leverage while the rest of the Newmans were falling apart. Do you really think anyone can control a guy who once ripped out his own breathing tube just to frame someone for murder? It's that kind of desperation that makes this story so addictive, but it's also what makes Phyllis so incredibly reckless. Let's look at how this all went down at the athletic club because it was pure chaos. Patty is just wandering the halls when she hears these muffled cries for help coming from Matt's suite. Now, most people would call the cops or run the other way, but Patty isn't most people. She manages to trick a housekeeper, Marcy Goldman, into letting her in by lying about a forgotten keycard. And when they walk in and see Matt bound and gagged on the floor, what does Patty do? She doesn't panic. She actually has the nerve to tell the maid it's just some kinky roleplay with her boyfriend. She even hands over a massive tip to keep the woman quiet. You have to laugh at the irony there because Patty is basically auditioning for the role of Matt's savior before they've even had a real conversation. It's like she saw a broken man and decided right then and there that he was her new project. Why do you think Patty acted this way? To me, it feels like she's finally done trying to get Jack Abbott's attention. For years, her whole identity was wrapped up in Jack, but he's treated her like a pawn one too many times. So, when she sees Matt Clark, a man the whole town hates just as much as they hate her, she feels an instant connection. It's that us against the world mentality. Internally, Patty is probably feeling this huge rush of power. She's the one with the keys. She's the one who can untie him. In her mind, she isn't just freeing a criminal, she's rescuing her soulmate. It's honestly heartbreaking and terrifying at the same time because we know how Patty gets when she's obsessed. Does she really believe she can fix Matt Clark, or is she just looking for someone to help her burn the town down? And then we have Matt himself. Roger Howarth is playing this version of Matt with so much mystery. He says he has amnesia and doesn't know why everyone in Genoa City is terrified of him. But can we really trust that? Matt Clark has always been a predator who knows exactly how to weaponize people's emotions. As Patty was untying him and pulling the gag out of his mouth, you could see him starting to realize that she's the perfect ally. He told her all about how Phyllis knocked him out and kidnapped him, and Patty was right there to feed his anger. She told him Phyllis can't be trusted and that she's the only friend he'll ever need. It's a masterclass in manipulation from both sides. Matt is likely using his vulnerable state to build trust with Patty because he knows he needs a place to hide. It's a match made in soap opera hell, honestly. While all this is happening at the hotel, Nick Newman is absolutely losing it. He's at the park with Phyllis, and he is just done with her schemes. He's been struggling with this addiction to fentanyl, which, let's not forget, Matt supplied him with in the first place, and he just wants the nightmare to end. But Phyllis is being Phyllis. She refuses to hand Matt over until she gets a written immunity deal from Christine. She literally told Nick she doesn't trust him or the humans anymore. It's so frustrating to watch because her ego is getting in the way of everyone's safety. Nick finally blew his top when he realized that while they were busy arguing, Phyllis's leverage walked right out the door. Can you imagine the rage he's feeling? He's trying to stay sober, he's trying to protect his family, and the woman he's supposed to be working with just let his worst enemy escape. Psychologically, Nick is in a really dark place. He's feeling a ton of shame about his addiction and the fact that he was kidnapped and tortured by Matt in Vegas. When he yells at Phyllis, he's really yelling at the world for being so unfair. He feels weak, and seeing Matt get the upper hand again is just too much to handle. Do you think Nick and Phyllis can ever come back from this? It feels like the end of an era for them. Phyllis thinks she's being a warrior for her own survival, but Nick sees her as a liability who only cares about herself. It's a total breakdown of trust, and honestly, I agree with Nick here. You don't play games with a serial rapist and bomber just to save your own skin. And don't even get me started on the rest of the Newmans. Victor and Nikki are bickering again, which is basically their default setting, but this time it's personal. Nikki is fuming because Victor knew about Nick's drug problem before she did and kept it from her. It's that classic Victor move. He thinks he has to control everything and keep everyone safe by lying to them. But Nikki isn't having it. She wants them to come together for Nick, but they just end up fighting about Jack Abbott again. It's so sad to see them this divided when their son is literally fighting for his life. Then Nikki goes to Jack for support, and he drops another bomb. Patty confirmed that Victor was the one who orchestrated all that yacht drama. Can you believe Victor would put his own family through that just to mess with Jack? Jack is making it clear that Victor only cares about his own power, not Nikki's happiness. It's just another layer of betrayal in a family that's already falling apart. Now, let's talk about the potential for absolute destruction. We have Matt Clark and Patty Williams, two of the most unstable people to ever walk the streets of Genoa City, forming a villain covenant. This isn't just a small problem, it's a terminal threat to the whole town. Patty is nursemaiding a man who knows exactly how to blow things up, both literally and figuratively. If Matt recovers his memory, or if he's already faking the amnesia, he's going to use Patty as his personal weapon. Think about it. Patty has access to the Abbotts and knows all the Newman secrets. She's a live grenade, and Matt is the one holding the pin. I predict that their next move is going to target the Newman ranch. Matt has unfinished business with Nick and Sharon, and with Patty by his side, he has someone who won't hesitate to pull the trigger for him. What do you think the consequences will be? I'm seeing a total Newman implosion on the horizon. Victor's plan to use AI evidence against Phyllis has backfired so spectacularly that he's now facing a monster he thought was dead. And Nick? The stress of Matt being free is almost certainly going to push him back toward the pills. He's already hitting rock bottom, and this might be the final push over the edge. It's a cycle of mutual destruction that's going to cost everyone a high price. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a major fire or another explosion before this arc is over. In the middle of all this darkness, we did get a tiny bit of light from the New York storyline, which was a nice break. Lily, Holden, and Claire were celebrating Malcolm Winter's successful procedure, and it was actually kind of sweet. Malcolm even sent over champagne in advance. Claire found this vintage motorcycle jacket for Holden with the name Winters on the back, and when it fit perfectly, they shared a romantic kiss. It's nice to see some happiness, but let's be real, this is Genoa City. That lighthearted moment just makes the drama back home feel even heavier. And then there's Billy and Kane. Billy showed up on Kane's train to talk about a defense strategy against the Newmans. He thinks if they work together, they can save themselves. It's an interesting move, but can those two ever really trust each other? It feels like everyone is picking sides and building walls while Matt and Patty are outside getting ready to tear them all down. The history here is just so deep. We have to remember that Matt Clark isn't just some random bad guy. He raped Sharon when they were teenagers. He framed Nick for selling drugs and then framed him for his own murder. He's been a shadow over their lives for 30 years. And Patty? She's the woman who shot Jack 3 times and has spent half her life in mental institutions. These aren't people you can just rehabilitate with a few therapy sessions. When you put them together, you're creating a synergy of madness that the Newmans and Abbotts aren't prepared for. They've both been treated like outcasts, and that shared societal isolation is going to bond them in a way that's impossible to break. I want to hear what you guys think about this. First of all, is Patty actually saving Matt, or is she just the next victim on his list? We've seen him use women before, just look at what he did to Trisha Dennison and his own wife, Sienna. Do you think he really cares about Patty, or is he just using her to get back on his feet? And what about Nick? Is he being too hard on Phyllis, or has she finally gone too far by letting Matt escape? It's such a mess, and I honestly don't see a happy ending for anyone involved right now. The stakes have never been higher. Jack Abbott looks like a fool for thinking he could control Patty. Victor Newman looks vulnerable because his family is in shambles. And Phyllis? She's panicking because she knows she's lost her only bargaining chip. The villain covenant is real, and it's heading straight for the heart of Genoa City. We're watching a masterclass in suspense, and I can't wait to see who survives the explosion. Make sure you don't miss a single beat of this story because it's moving fast. If you want to keep up with every twist, every betrayal, and every psychological breakdown in Genoa City, you've got to stay tuned. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when the next update drops. We're going to be tracking Patty and Matt's every move, from the athletic club to the Newman Ranch and everywhere in between. What do you think Matt's first move as a free man will be? Leave a comment below and let's debate it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep dive into the chaos of the young and the restless. Is Patty's rescue of Matt a real friendship or manipulation? Genoa City is honestly a powder keg right now, and I have to ask, did any of us actually see this coming? We've got the return of two of the most dangerous people in soap history, but seeing them join forces is something else entirely. Was this rescue at the athletic club really just a lucky break, or are we watching the most calculated psychological trap ever set? Well, think about it. Phyllis Summers thought she was holding all the cards. She had Matt Clark tied up in a hotel room like some kind of trophy she could trade for her freedom. But the funny thing is, Phyllis always thinks she's the smartest person in the room. She completely forgot about the one wild card she couldn't control, Patty Williams. It makes you wonder, was this really just a simple mistake, or is it something much deeper? Let's look at why Patty acted this way, because it's actually kind of tragic if you think about it. She didn't just stumble into that room, she manipulated her way in by tricking a housekeeper named Marcy Goldman. She lied about a forgotten keycard and then had the nerve to call Matt's bound state kinky roleplay to get rid of the witness. Why would she do that? For years, Patty's whole identity was the woman who loves Jack Abbott. But Jack has been treating her like a disposable pawn on his corporate chessboard. Internally, Patty is likely feeling a deep sense of rejection and irrelevance. By saving Matt, she isn't just freeing a man, she's auditioning for the role of his indispensable partner. It's a textbook case of a rescuer complex. She sees Matt's bound state and projects her own history of being locked away and misunderstood onto him. My opinion? Jack Abbott is the biggest loser here. He thought he could point Patty at Victor like a loaded gun, but he forgot that Patty is a live grenade. She doesn't take aim, she just explodes wherever she lands. Then there's Matt Clark, or Mitch, or whatever he's calling himself today. Roger Howarth is playing this with such a chilling, low-frequency hum that you almost forget this guy blew up a gas station recently. He says he has amnesia, but can we really trust a man who once ripped out his own breathing tube just to frame Nick for murder? Matt is likely in a beta state right now because he's physically weakened, so he's mirroring Patty's emotional distress to secure his safety. If you reframe the situation, you see that Matt isn't just escaping Phyllis, he's upgrading his accomplice. Phyllis wanted to use him as a bargaining chip, but Patty wants to treat him as a sovereign equal. For a sociopath like Matt, that is a masterstroke of psychological warfare. He's using his vulnerable state to build trust with the only person in town who might actually validate him. Now, we have to talk about that absolute explosion in the park. Nick Newman is already white-knuckling his way through a fentanyl addiction that Matt himself helped foster. He's drowning in shame and trauma from being kidnapped and tortured in Vegas. When Phyllis refuses to hand Matt over until she gets a written immunity deal from Christine, Nick finally reaches his breaking point. He explodes because Phyllis represents his own failure to handle things the Newman way. Every time Phyllis tries to save him with a scheme, she ends up making him more dependent on the chaos he's trying to escape. I totally agree with Nick's rage here. Phyllis chose her own legal safety over the physical safety of the entire town, and that is the height of narcissism. Psychologically, Nick is lashing out because he can't punch Matt Clark yet, so he's punching the only thing left in his vicinity, Phyllis's ego. The funny thing is, while these two are fighting, the real danger is already roaming the streets. Patty is nursemaiding a man who knows exactly how to weaponize emotion. She told Matt that Phyllis can't be trusted and that she's the only friend he'll ever need. Do you really think a friendship between a serial rapist and an obsessed shooter can end well? This is a villain covenant born directly from shared societal isolation. They both feel like outcasts, and that shared pain is going to bond them in a way that's impossible to break. Patty wants to convince everyone she's rehabilitated, but by offering to help Matt with his memory, she might actually be the one to unleash his dark side. It's a match made in soap opera hell. And don't even get me started on the rest of the Newmans. Victor and Nikki are bickering again because Victor kept Nick's addiction a secret from her. It's that classic Victor move. He thinks he has to control everything to keep everyone safe, but it just ends up tearing them apart. Then Nikki goes to Jack for support, and he drops the bomb that Victor was the one who orchestrated all the yacht drama. Can you believe Victor would put his own family through that just to mess with Jack? Jack is making it clear that Victor only cares about his own power, not Nikki's happiness. It's just another layer of betrayal in a family that's already falling apart. Things are about to get exponentially worse, and I'm calling it now. Matt is going to recover his memory the second it's most inconvenient for Patty. He's going to use her access to the Abbotts and Newmans to target the ranch. Victor is going to realize that his AI evidence against Phyllis actually backfired by making her too desperate to hand Matt over. And Nick? The stress of Matt being free is almost certainly going to push him back toward the pills. We are looking at a total collapse of the traditional power structures in Genoa City. While Lily and Holden are off celebrating Malcolm's recovery in New York, the foundation of their home is being eaten away by a rogue partnership. Billy and Kane are even considering working together just to survive the legal fallout. But the real question is, who is the real predator in this game? Is Patty actually saving Matt, or is she just the next victim on his list? We've seen him use women before. Just look at what he did to Sharon or his own wife, Sienna. Does he really care about Patty, or is he just using her to get back on his feet? And what about Nick and Phyllis? Is there any way they can ever come back from this level of betrayal? It feels like the end of an era for Fic, and honestly, maybe it needs to be. Phyllis thinks she's a warrior, but Nick sees her as a liability who only cares about herself. The stakes have never been higher, and I want to hear what you guys think about this villain covenant. Do you believe Matt's amnesia is 100% fake, or is Roger Howarth giving us a version of Matt Clark that might actually be redeemable? Let's be real, probably not, but it's fun to imagine. And is Patty's rescue of Matt a real friendship or just a mutual manipulation? Let me know your wildest theories in the comments because this storyline is moving fast. If you want to stay updated on every single psychological twist and turn in this arc, make sure to hit that subscribe button and smash the like. We're tracking every movement from the athletic club to the Newman Ranch, and you don't want to miss what happens when Matt finally decides to use those matches Patty handed him. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown of the chaos in Genoa City.